Hi, I'm John Bermingham with the Board of Supervisors here in Upper Mount Bethel Township with Dr. Raso. Thank you, Doctor, for being here.
Good afternoon.
Dr. Raso, what are the current number of active cases in Northampton County and in particular for Upper Mount Bethel?
Well, I hate to say it, the number of cases in the last month has more than doubled in Northampton County. It went from about 4,500 or more than 10,000 presently. Mount Bethel went from 36 3 weeks ago. Right now we're at 54. Bangor has gone up by another 190 people, and Penargil is about 107. So it really has progressed quite rapidly in the last 4 weeks. If you think about it, we've more or less tripled in 1 month what we did in the spring.
Doctor, the number of Americans hospitalized with COVID-19 hit an all-time high in the U.S. This past Thursday, we reached 100,667 according to the COVID Tracking Project. That figure has more than doubled over the past month, while new daily cases are averaging 210,000 and deaths are averaging 1,800 per day, according to Johns Hopkins University. How close are we to another lockdown? Is another lockdown needed?
Well, I'm not really sure if a lockdown is required because of herd immunity and things that we want to see happen. However, since I don't run the state of Pennsylvania or the United States, it wouldn't shock me if they did lock us down very soon.
Okay, and here in Pennsylvania, almost half of all hospitals in the South Central region and a third of those in the Southwest anticipate staffing shortages within a week, according to the State Department of Health. How are the hospitals doing here in the Lehigh Valley area?
They are having some strain right now with just trying to keep nurses on the floor, so it is kind of difficult for us.
As we are getting closer to the coronavirus vaccines being handed out, the first in line will be the medical and emergency workers, and then employees and residents of long-term care facilities, also essential workers, those with underlying conditions, and the elderly. My question is, once the general population starts receiving the vaccine, are there any dangers to us letting our guard down, or can we start returning back to normal?
Well, I think that's the hope of the vaccine, that once, the United States is basically vaccinated for the pandemic, then we will be able to return to our normal life.
Once the vaccine becomes available for all, some employers are going to be requiring its employees to get the vaccine before returning to work, while others argue it's their individual right to liberty and free choice. So what are your thoughts, not getting into the constitutional argument, should everyone go and get the vaccine?
I think as long as the vaccine is very safe and, let's just say, fascinating souls across the country are not involved in it, just medical people, then I think they should get vaccinated. However, we can go back to the smallpox vaccination, where that did go to the Supreme Court, and that individual lost. So I don't really know if they'll have a foot to stand on since the Supreme Court has already ruled on it.
Okay. In regards to the vaccine, are there any side effects one might experience from taking it? And once someone takes the vaccine, how long does it take for the protection to kick in?
Well, it's going to take anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks for the protection to kick in. B, as it comes to what the actual side effects are going to be, I don't think we really have a really good idea at this point because it's only been given out to 40 to 50,000 people who are in the trials. We won't really know until we see 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 million people get it to see what the real side effects are going to be.
Okay, and I have some resident questions. Okay, first question from a resident. Is treatment available immediately after a positive test? In other words, is there early treatment instead of waiting till I get worse to get treatment? And if so, how effective is that treatment?
Well, after a positive test, if you are asymptomatic, we do not treat you at all. That means you're probably going to get over it and you'll be fine. And that's most young people. 2, if you are symptomatic, Then there are treatments. You can take steroids, you can take zinc, you can take zithromax so you don't get a bacterial infection. Some doctors will use hydroxychloroquine. Now, if you get worse, you'll probably end up being very short of breath, or if you're losing your oxygen, you'll be at a hospital. And I know some people are getting these synthetic antibodies right now. So, yes, you will be treated.
What about someone who's older and tests positive right away and maybe have a compromised immune system?
Well, I guess it really depends on their symptoms.
Okay. Next question from a resident is, can you get the coronavirus and then take the vaccine?
Yes.
Will there be enough for the vaccine for everyone? How long will the average person have to wait to take the vaccine?
Well, I think with the way they're revving up all the vaccines, there'll most likely be enough.
Okay. And you think by beginning of next year or so it'll be available for everyone?
For everybody, I think everything will be available by February or March.
Next question from a resident. Do you believe we are rushing a vaccine to market without really understanding the safety and efficacy of the vaccine?
Well, we have seen some of the efficacy, and it's very promising for all of them that are involved. And you're 100% right to worry about safety because we're really not 100% sure. The problem is we've really never seen a pandemic like this in the last 100 years where you do see death rates of 1,000 or 2,000 people every day. So, I mean, honestly, we got to fight it with everything we can.
Okay. Next question is, what is herd immunity, and when will we know we have achieved herd immunity?
Well, herd immunity really is the people with the strongest immune systems can get exposed to the virus, and they pass it around the community, and the community is now immunized against it just by natural selection. And we won't really know till we're done with the vaccinations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question. Will the vaccine end the pandemic?
God, I hope so.
Good. Next question is, my fiance and I live together and he works at a nursing home, so he's at a high risk of getting the coronavirus. Is there anything I can do to protect myself while we're living together?
Well, I told everybody if you're in those things, you should be taking vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, selenium, and even melatonin. All tend to increase your immune system, and you should check your sweetheart's temperature when he gets home.
The Wall Street Journal reported this week that the coronavirus might have been around even before the acknowledged pandemic.
That is 100% true. They did blood tests on our blood supply system, and we've seen it all the way back at early December, all the way from Washington, California, through Oregon to Rhode Island. So this story about they just found it in December is probably a fallacy.
So someone might have had it even before the acknowledged pandemic.
I would say somewhere in October
Okay.
or September in our country.
Can they go and get an antibody test?
Well, this is how they detected it. They did antibody tests on the blood supply. So they will probably do contact tracing to figure out who that person was, who donated blood. Because the one thing about our blood supply in our country since HIV, we are very secure in how we look at patients and look at their blood. So everybody who donates blood, that blood is basically labeled to the patient for the life of that person. So they will probably go back and find that guy or that woman and see where they've been or how they got in contact with COVID.
So let's say I believe I had it in like October of 2019. Can I go get an antibody test now?
If you feel you've been exposed, then you can get a COVID-19 antibody. It's done at all the major labs.
Any other advice for the people of Upper Mount Bethel and our surrounding community?
Well, I do think that we're coming into a very precarious time. And I think we should really think about our neighbors. I think we should probably batten down the hatches.
If someone is in critical shape right now from the coronavirus, can you just go give them the vaccine? And if you can, why aren't we doing this to all the critical people now?
I personally don't believe giving a vaccine to a person who is critically ill right now is going to help them because it takes at least 2 to 4 weeks to make an antibody. They've already been exposed to what we're trying to give to them. Remember what a vaccine is. It's an immunotherapy. We're giving you a small piece of that virus so your body can make antibodies towards it. So when it sees it, it gets rid of it.
Well, Doctor, I want to thank you so much. We really appreciate your time in educating us and updating us.